Guys, it's raining, so let's go inside and look at the KTM Duke 390. What's up guys, welcome to Bike Matters. This is the KTM Duke 390. It's 90% new for 2024, so KTM say, and they say it's a corner rocket. This one's £5,699, and I'm really impressed by this bike. I think it's one of the most premium and impressive A2 compliant naked bikes on the market. I'd say anyone even over an A2 license could get on one of these and have a brilliant time. But it's got a few flaws. There's a few things I'm not so impressed by. So let's talk about the bike and get into it and see what the bike's all about in the video. So what's new about the 2024 390 Duke? 90% of it is brand new. KTM have really gone back to rework this bike. It's now Euro 5.2 or Euro 5 Plus friendly, which is the next emission standard from 2025, so the 1st of January. That means this bike's going to be ready to go from then. The engine now has more capacity, so the CC limit is now 399. It's got a little bit less power, but it's got more torque, and it's been reworked a little bit so that the engine's a little bit more playful and it's a little bit more fun, and that character certainly comes out on the road. This is a really impressive bike to ride, and overall the feel of this bike is very much the Duke family. It's the no BS campaign that they really wanted it to be, and the bike only weighs 165 kilograms, so it's nice and nimble, and in corners it just feels so compliant and really responsive to your inputs, which is really nice. Of course, this bike is then 390 and it's A2 compliant, but that doesn't mean that it's only for A2 riders. I think a lot of riders would jump on one of these and have a load of fun. So you join me at the engine. It's the LC4C single cylinder unit, liquid cooled of course. It's got 44 brake horsepower, 39 Newton meters of torque. It's got a anti-hopping clutch, nice and easy to use, nice and light. This one does have a quick shifter as well. Now, one of the things I'll direct you to as well here is the LC4C on there. It looks like it's been hand painted, but hand painted really poorly. But in any case, the engine itself ultimately is really good. In first gear, it gets you moving nice and quickly, and then second gear, it really feels like it opens up and you have a lot of power at your disposal. Then when you go higher up in the gears, it doesn't really feel like there's any boost in power. It doesn't feel like you get to a peak torque or peak power phase and then it comes into life. It just feels nice and solid at all times. If you go into a corner in say third or fourth gear when you should maybe be in second, it has enough pulling power to get you out of the corner. And that's what makes this bike really fun to ride with, is of course the low weight, 165 kilograms. They've also improved the gearbox, they've optimized the cylinder head, and ultimately the engine is quite a good positive one here. I'll compare it to the Triumph Speed 400, which I rode on the launch. And this bike compared to that is very similar. Of course, both singles, power is near enough the same. But the Speed 400 felt like when you got to the peak torque, it really opened up. But this one just feels nice and smooth. The delivery, if you're looking like a torque curve or something like that, it feels nice and just smooth and gradual. It doesn't drop off at any point. And even in higher gears, when you get to like 6th gear and you're really pushing on, it just sits there nicely and happily. And because it's a single cylinder, it will sip away at fuel. And this tank is only, say, 15 litres, so you'd be able to get at least 200 miles from each fill up. So ultimately, engine, pretty good stuff. Quick shout out goes to Lexham Insurance, who power Bike Matters. If you're looking at getting a motorcycle or scooter insurance quote, you can go direct onto the website, lexhaminsurance.co.uk, or give them a call. That's for a brand new quote, maybe a brand new KTM Duke 390, or for a renewal of your existing motorcycle. But give them a call, give them a try. So let's talk about the handling of the bike. Now this is where really the Duke comes to life. This is really what the Duke family is all about, is the handling and the sort of aggressive riding. And that's certainly something you can do here. The Duke 390, I'd say in terms of handling and the specification on offer, I'd say it's probably the most premium beginner A2 friendly bike out there compared to the rivals like the MT-03, the Honda CB300s, the maybe even Speed 400, the Hunter 350. There's loads and loads of options out there. But I'd say that what you get here in terms of the adjustable suspension at the front and the rear, the offset WP Apex rear shock here, which is really quite nice to look at. The options here are endless because you can adjust the rebound, the compression, you can really dial it in for your riding style and your weight and go out on the country roads and just have some fun. And of course, that's what this Duke is all about. When you get to like the brakes, you've got bi-bree brakes front and rear. As you can see, it's a huge front disc and a rear disc here. The braking power is pretty good. It's not really sharp. I was kind of underwhelmed by the brakes in a way, because if you're really going hard into corners and stuff like that, you'd kind of expect a little bit more bite and feel out of the brakes. But at the same time, the brakes are absolutely fine. If you're riding this hard, you also just become used to what the braking power performance is, and it's absolutely fine. And the tires here are the Michelin Power 6. Really good rubber, to be fair, and when you're pushing on, the feedback you get through the tires is pretty spot on. Ultimately, as I say, the handling on this bike is very nice, and even the riding position. And because it's only a 390, you're not going to be able to get to silly speeds too quickly. So you can really have a bit of a laugh on this bike, and that's kind of where I'd say you get a lot of fun out of these sort of bikes. So let's talk about the style of the bike. Now, of course, style is subjective. Everyone has different opinions on style, what's cool, what's not, what looks nice, what doesn't look nice. So let me know in the comments what you think about this bike and what this bike looks like. But I'll talk about the bike from my perspective. Now, this one is the blue option. I'd never go for a blue KTM, but this paint looks really nice. Now, from the camera now, you probably look at it and think it looks really dull, but in the sunlight, there's some real nice sparkle and finish to the color, and the blue really shines in the sunlight. But I'd go for the orange one anyway, because it's a KTM and orange is just a sweet color. Of course, you've got the little details here, the trellis frame, the wheels are all orange, but having the main body orange, in my opinion, bang on. Now, this bike is built in India, so that keeps the cost nice and low. Still a premium bike, still a good price tag, but I hate to say it, but I think there is a few little bits that are wrong in terms of the finish. Now, I've already touched on the LC4C writing, only just minor, but I really don't like the front. The light is so low down and it is suiting in the style of the bike, which is sort of arched forward. But then you've got all of this exposed wiring. The 5-inch TFT display is all floating up here. And I just think, why can't there be a little plastic shroud that just covers this and sort of links it all up together? I think that would look a lot nicer. The lighter unit itself, you've got DRLs here, LED lights, front and rear. And that all works nicely. It is very visible on the road, and looking at some of the footage we had where you look back at the bike, you can see the lights nicely and it looks very good. But this is something that I'm not happy about. When you turn the bike on, backlit buttons as well, which is very nice, the indicator doesn't work. So the hazards do, you can see, happy days. But when you press the indicator, the button just doesn't work anymore. And that is seriously disappointing. I've tried all sorts. I think what has happened, I think the button to cancel the indicators has just fully pressed in, and it's just fully firmly pressed in now. So if you try and press the indicator buttons, nothing works at all. And of course, that would mean going back to the dealership to get it fixed, and this bike's only done around 300 miles or so. It's not good. It's really not good at all. Sometimes these things just happen with bikes, these things just go wrong. Moving on, let me know what you think of the style, and let's have a look at something else. So let's cover a few of the other bits that I've yet to touch on really. So TFT display, smartphone connectable, and I did see that you can get turn-by-turn navigation, you can control your music, you get all of that bits if you're really interested in connecting your phone to it. One of the things that I didn't mention yet, which is, I don't know how I missed this bike has a launch control, which for a A2 friendly bike is just crazy. It literally has a launch control where switch it on and the bike won't go past 7,000 revs, so you can just pin the throttle, release the clutch and off you go. Great to use, great to work with. Of course, this also has supermoto mode, rain mode and street mode. ABS can be switched off at the rear as well, so you can do some skids, and traction control you can switch on or off. This also has a lap timer, and that's just wild. So if you are looking to actually do some laps of your local town, this is something that you can use to time it. Or of course, if you're doing some gymkhana or some off-road racing, like on a track, fair play. So let's talk about the comfort. Now, I'm sat in an 820mm saddle, and you feel quite aggressive in your stance. You're sort of weighting the front a little bit, but that means that you just got a nice feel through the front ends, and especially in corners and coming out of corners, you really feel like you can push out of the corner and just have a lot of fun, really. I'm 6'3" for reference, and I just about fit. It's comfortable enough. I mean, if you were sitting in this saddle for 6 hours, then you would really start hurting, because the seat itself, there is a bit of squish to it, but it feels really firm. I mean, just for reference. And also, when you're sat here, especially me, my knee tucks in nicely here. So that's a really good point. Of course, if you've got even longer legs than I have, and I've got long legs, your knee would be way out here, and that's fine. But for the normal person, your indents are here and you're gonna fit on it nicely. The handlebar position is good, and you sort of do feel like you're sat over the bike like this. So that's quite an active riding position. It is comfortable enough, and if you're doing some commuting, you're doing some, you know, stints on dual carriageway motorways, you'll be fine on this, and it can hold the speed, and it's comfortable enough to do that. So let's do some final thoughts. Now, this is, of course, a very impressive bike. Ultimately, the handling is supreme. It's nice and lightweight. The engine's pretty solid for this bike. And it's the most premium A2 market bike that you can buy for the money. Now, I say premium because of the adjustment for the suspension, the overall control and feel of the bike, and just having fun on the country roads. It's so good at that. I've noted down a few prices of rivals, just in case you wanted to know the sort of difference between them. You can get a Hunter 350 for, say, £3,899, but probably cheaper than that. Doesn't quite compare in terms of power and output on the road, but that's a really good price for that. The CB300R from Honda is £4,599. Pretty good against this one, so beats this price by quite a bit. But then you look at the MT-03, and click up there if you want to watch the MT-03 review video that Brett did in 2021, because that's a very, very good video. That was £6,105 now, and I'm not sure that offers quite as much in the way of specs and tech for the money, but it's a Yamaha and they just make some seriously good bikes. Elsewhere, you can look at like the Z500 from Kawasaki, it's like £5,700 or so. And then you got like the BMW G310R, 5,200-ish pounds. The CF Moto 450 NK, 4,999. And of course, the Triumph Speed 400, which is now £5,195. So this one is sort of on that more premium scale. But as I say, you get such a good tech setup in terms of the suspension and the ride feel and the engine character that I'd say it's well worth it. Of course, there is some downsides to this bike in terms of negatives. I'd say the braking performance isn't quite there for me. I'd quite like that to be a little bit improved. Maybe a twin disc setup at the front would just sort it all out completely. The style in terms of the front and just kind of overall, it looks a bit ugly to me. It's a bit of a toy, and it sort of undersells what the bike can do. But at the same time, that's just my personal opinion. So, and of course, the other con on this one is potentially just the reliability ongoing. Now, this is only a young bike, 300 miles or so in, and the indicator switch is broken. Easy to sort, I'm sure, and it's going to be covered under warranty with the bike, but it's just a little bit annoying. Pros, if you can't guess, is the engine character is so good and the handling is just phenomenal. On the roads, it's just so much fun. So the third positive is just simply raw fun with this bike. But that's the 390 Duke. If you want more information, you can head to the Lexham Insurance website, where I've written a blog with my full thoughts and the full in-depth review there. So click the link to check that out. Subscribe to Bike Matters if you haven't already. We've got loads more content on the way. If you want, I could review my Triumph Speed Twin 1200 that I bought, 2023 model. I'm pretty much in love with that bike, so it'll be a bit of a biased review. But if you want to see that, let us know in the comments down below and I'll review it for you. If not, like the video, comment to say how your day's been, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.